Mr. Poilievre, are we in any kind of a mess in Canada? If yes, how badly?
Very badly, very badly. After 8 years of Trudeau, everything is broken. Crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder are rampant in our streets. Turn loose criminals all over our streets to carjack, extort, assassinate, and shoot up our neighborhoods. So, in essence, everything is broken. 2 million people lined up at food banks, about the single moms pouring water into their children's milk because they can't afford food for their kids after 8 years of Trudeau's carbon tax hike. So I'm saying, sit down with the premiers. What does it hurt to have a meeting? What could go wrong?
The consultants and people, they are misusing the system. How will you fix the immigration system, Mr. Poilievre?
And Justin Trudeau has broken our immigration system. He's not worth the cost of our entirely screwed up immigration system.
Federal opposition leader Pierre Poilievre ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ 'ਚ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਹੈ। ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਬਜਟ 2024, ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਸਾਰੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਜਾਏ ਔਰ ਬਾਕੀ ਵੀ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਡਿਸਕਸ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। Mr. Poilievre, welcome to the show.
Good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Mr. Poilievre, are we in any kind of a mess in Canada? If yes, how badly?
Very badly, very badly. After 8 years of Trudeau, everything is broken. Everything costs more, work doesn't pay, housing costs have doubled, crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder are rampant in our streets. This is the direct result of the policies he's brought in. He's brought in a massive carbon tax, which he plans to quadruple to 61 cents a litre. He's printed $600 billion of cash, driving inflation and high interest rates. He has funded local bureaucracies that block home building to give us the worst housing prices in the G7. And he has brought in catch and release criminal justice to turn loose criminals all over our streets to carjack, extort, assassinate, and shoot up our neighborhoods. So in essence, everything is broken. But life wasn't like this before Justin Trudeau, and it won't be like this after he's gone.
Mr. Poilievre, your party brought a motion and it's passed.
Yes.
And main thing, NDP supported that motion also, where you challenged Prime Minister Trudeau to debate live on a television and live debate to meet the premiers on the carbon tax.
Yeah, look, he has an obligation to meet the premiers. 7 of 10 provincial premiers do not want the carbon tax. They've asked for a meeting to sit down and talk with him about the seniors who are choosing between eating and heating, about the 2 million people lined up at food banks, about the single moms pouring water into their children's milk because they can't afford to buy food for their kids after 8 years of Trudeau's carbon tax hike. So I'm saying, sit down with the premiers. What does it hurt to have a meeting? What could go wrong? If he's so sure that this tax is the right thing, meet the premiers and let's have a carbon tax conference.
But he said he met in 2016.
Oh, 2016. Well, in 2016, he said there would be no consumer carbon tax. That was a lie. And 2016, he had a bunch of Liberal NDP premiers who've all been fired. Why? Because they supported carbon taxes. So now we have new premiers of various party labels who all oppose the tax. So sit down and talk with them about the tax. And he should at least freeze the tax until I become Prime Minister, because when I get there, Nitin, my common sense plan, axe the tax.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, she released a video yesterday, what to-do list for Ottawa, and don't interfere in the province's matter, and what Ottawa has to do ASAP, that she released a video on that.
I have to watch that video. She's a great premier. But my to-do list is axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime. Axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, stop the crime. That's my common sense to-do list, and I can't wait to get started doing it.
Mr. Poilievre, few quotes I will read from the Prime Minister's speeches that Mr. Poilievre, our opposition, is spreading misinformation about the carbon tax. We are giving Canadian back the dollars. We are putting dollars in their pocket. You are saying that it's a tax on Canadians. So how you see those statements by Prime Minister Trudeau? He said if carbon tax is gone, means rebate is gone. So many of the Canadians, they are confused whether this is a carbon tax or this is a carbon rebate, because Liberals termed it as a carbon rebate giving back to Canadians.
Well, the rebate doesn't cover the cost. According to the parliamentary budget officer, Canadians are spending thousands of dollars more in carbon tax payments than they're getting back in rebates. And that's true for 60% of Canadians. 60% of Canadians spend more in carbon tax than they get back in rebates. And that is the parliamentary budget officer's own study. And that's because, see, what Trudeau is trying to do, he thinks that you're going to be fooled, that this is a tax that just appears on your gasoline and your home heating purchase.
But gasoline is attached with everything.
It's attached with everything. It's the embedded cost. So when you buy, let's say, a steak, okay, well, that beef had to be fed by farmer. So the farmer had to use energy to bring the feed to the cow. And the cow had to eat that taxed food. And the cow had to be slaughtered and transported over to a slaughterhouse and then to a finishing facility. And then the resulting cuts had to be brought over to a local butcher shop, and that trucker was taxed again. And then that butcher shop had to heat itself. So the tax he pays is also embedded in the cost. You get a rare piece of steak in Canada, almost no one can afford one anymore. That thing has probably been taxed 7 or 8 times. And he doesn't even appear on your receipt, but it's embedded in the food. And that goes for everything that comes by train, boat, or truck. If it comes from a farm, it's been taxed through the farmer. So all of those costs pile up, and are one of the reasons why nobody can afford anything is the Trudeau carbon tax.
Yes, recently we bought a banana bread from Costco. It used to be $6, now it's at $10.
Wow.
So $4 raise. My question is, can we lower the emission without having taxes?
Yes. My common sense plan is technology, not taxes. Green light, green projects, rather than putting stop signs in the way of workers. So, for example, we need CANDU reactors, small modular nuclear reactors, rapid fire approval of transmission, hydroelectric dams in Quebec. We need to approve the carbon capture and storage in Western Canada. Right now, Nitin, it takes 25 years to get some of these projects approved. I want to bring that down to 18 months so that we can get building green projects that feed emissions-free baseload electricity onto our grid and give us more affordable energy with lower emissions. We can also sell our clean Canadian natural gas to the world. India, for example, if it were to supply half of its energy growth with clean natural gas instead of dirtier coal, that would reduce India's emissions by 2.5 billion tons. That is 3 times the total emissions of Canada. So why aren't we selling them our natural gas? We have 1,300 trillion cubic feet of this stuff, but we don't export it because Trudeau won't approve an export terminal. I'm going to approve as many as these. I want a dozen of these things built to liquefy the gas, send it to India and Europe to reduce global emissions and bring home powerful paychecks. United States has more population than Canada.
Yeah. Do they have a carbon tax there?
No, they don't. And by using natural gas, they have reduced their emissions. The Americans have reduced their emissions more than Canada without a carbon tax because they went from coal to natural gas, which is half as emitting. And so what I'm saying is let's liquefy our natural gas and allow other countries to do what America did, which is to go to a cleaner energy source and profit Canadian workers at the same time.
Mr. Poilievre, with April starting, there is a 23% of carbon tax on Canadians. Canadians need relief, not more taxes.
Yes.
And same, 1st April, our Member of Parliament, they got a raise of 4.4%, $8,500 raise. Prime Minister got a 17,000 raise. And Canadians got carbon tax, they got liquor tax, they got airport tax, they got payroll taxes too. So Canadians need relief, not more taxes, because we are already paying taxes and taxes.
Exactly, and that's why common sense conservatives will not only axe the tax, but we'll lower income taxes as well. That allow you to bring home more of your paycheck so hard work actually pays off. We'll cancel the increases in payroll taxes that Trudeau has planned. And I also favor tax relief for our small businesses so they can create more jobs.
If we talk about crime and auto thefts, because since we are here in Ontario and we don't talk about auto thefts, that won't be fair. Every 5 minutes, one car is stolen. And we had 3 auto summits, one in Ottawa, 2 in Peel region. The results, we don't see the results. Now, 2 demands came out of those summits also. Stop the export of used vehicles. Get the scanners today. Mayor Brown said we need scanners today. Whereas the auto summit, the result says we will get the scanners in next 3 years. These 2 demands, stop the export, get the scanners today. Why the government is not getting scanners as of today?
They're wasting the money on everything else. I put forward a common sense plan to cut back $165 million worth of consultants that the Public Safety Department employs and put that money into scanners at our ports. The other countries are using these incredible scanners. They're very low cost, and they can scan thousands and thousands of containers every year. And what they do is they look into the container to see what's there. Oftentimes the manifest will say, well, this container is filled with, metal rods. Well, it's actually got a Mercedes-Benz in it. Well, if the scanner shows that the object inside the container doesn't match the manifest, well, then you pull the container aside, you remove the car, match the VIN to the owner, call the owner and say, why is your car in this container? And the owner will probably say, well, it was stolen. If you do that, you'll make car theft unprofitable, because then the cars won't get off to the market, the black market in Europe, Asia, or Africa, and that will stop the demand. But the Port of Montreal is only inspecting 1% of containers. They have 5 CBSA officers for 500,000 containers. So we need to take the money from the back office and the consultants, put it boots on the ground at the ports, scanners to stop the car theft. And we need to lock up the car thieves with mandatory jail time, not house arrest, to stop the crime. And
Project Vector was a success. When they scanned few shipments, they got 598 vehicles out of that. So we need more scanners on the ports. Mr. Poilievre, federal budget 2024 is around the corner, is coming very soon. So in the budget, majority of Canadians, when the survey was done, they said they are concerned about the deficit. They said the government is overspending and the priority should be the healthcare, the priority should be the defense spending and fulfilling the NATO targets. So how you see why opposition is not supporting government on the budget?
It's a disaster. Trudeau's already out with tens of billions of dollars of inflationary spending that's not worth the cost. This money will keep interest rates higher longer, will mean higher taxes, will endanger our social programs in the future. Trudeau is now spending more on debt interest than on health care. That's money for bondholders and bankers rather than doctors and nurses. My common sense plan is very simple. 1, axe the carbon tax on farmers and food. 2, cap the spending to bring down interest rates and inflation. And 3, perhaps most important of all, we need to build the homes by requiring municipalities permit 15% more home building as a condition of getting federal funding. So axe the tax, cap the spending, build the homes. That's my demand for Justin Trudeau before the Tuesday budget.
Mr. Poilievre, would you like to talk about the foreign interference? Because Prime Minister accepted that China meddled in this and there was a testimony. And if China meddled, why never our government, they reacted at that time?
Because he benefited from it.
We had a special rapporteur also that time.
He resigned. He was benefiting from the foreign interference, and that's why he wanted to welcome even more of it. Justin Trudeau said he admires the basic Chinese communist dictatorship, and they supported him in 2 elections. He did nothing about it. Why? Because he doesn't, he benefits. They're helping him win elections. So why wouldn't he keep that in place? My common sense plan is to stand up against the foreign interference, shut down the foreign controlled police stations, create a foreign influence registry, and banish foreign governments from interfering in our democracy.
Mr. Poilievre, housing crisis.
Yes.
US is not even 100 kilometers away from place where we are sitting. The house cost in Canada is approximately 3 times higher than US.
Yes.
And yesterday, Chrystia Freeland, Deputy PM, they said that for the newcomers, first-time home buyers, they will give 30 years of amortization. People, they asking that why don't you increase the working age from retirement age from 65 to 75? Why you are putting more debt on the Canadians by putting the amortization to 30 years to first-time home buyers? What do you say?
At the end of the day, you can allow, if the government wants to allow people to take out bigger mortgages, they'll have more debt. But what will that do? It'll just bid up housing prices even more. If you haven't, the problem, Nitin, is we don't have enough homes. It's a very simple problem we have. We have more families than homes. If you have an island with 20 families and 10 homes, obviously the homes will be expensive because the 20 families will be bidding against each other for those finite number of homes. If the government on that island says, we're going to give every family $1 million to buy a home, what would happen? They would all bid up those 10 houses by $1 million more. The problem is not that people can't get enough debt, that we already have the most debt per household in the G7. The problem is we don't have enough homes. And as long as you don't build more homes, then you're not going to have affordable housing prices. So my common sense plan is to use the federal spending power to require cities permit 15% more home building as a condition of getting federal funds, to require they permit high-density housing around every federally funded transit station, to sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of land to build, to back the trades so that we have the builders, to take the carbon tax off the transport of housing building materials. That is a common sense plan to build the homes.
Immigration is an important issue too.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of loopholes in our immigration system. When a student, international student across the globe or a visitor comes to Canada, they get a visa. They have to prove that after completing their studies or stay, they will come back. If you don't prove that, your visa might get rejected. So there is a contradictory in our own system that we have to prove that we will, after completing stay, we will come back. Otherwise, our visa will be rejected. When we come here, our system want the workforce, the student, the visitor, they have a programs to get a PR. So there is a contradiction. Why don't we have a direct, clean system that we need a workforce, come the students, complete your studies, get your work permit, get your PR. And LMIA abuse, sale purchase of the jobs, the consultants and people, they are misusing the system. How will you fix the immigration system, Mr. Poilievre?
Justin Trudeau has broken our immigration system. He's not worth the cost of our entirely screwed up immigration system. He has taken the best immigration system in the world, literally around the world. Other governments would study how successful we were as an immigrant country and import our idea to their country. Now people say Canada is a nightmare after 8 years of Trudeau. So I will end the abuse and the corruption that Sean Fraser and Trudeau allowed in our international student program by requiring students have proof of a real admission to a real educational institution, that they have a place to live and they have an income to pay their bills before they come in. Secondly, I'll crack down on LMIA abuse so that no longer can consultants and corporations defraud the system to bring in low-wage work and drive down our wages. And thirdly, we'll connect the number of the population growth to the growth in the housing stock. We need to grow our housing stock faster than our population if we're going to eliminate the shortage. That's my common sense plan. Now we need to bring it home.
Mr. Poilievre, your final message to the youth of the country, because 2015, the youth, they voted for Liberal. And now we see that swing, they are moving to Conservatives. So your message to the youth of this country.
Yes, look, I know that life is miserable right now for our young people. For the first time in our history, young people cannot afford homes. This has never happened before. It was common for 25, 26-year-olds to buy their own house, even sometimes their own standalone property, fully detached homes in their 20s. Now, after 8 years of Trudeau, that dream has been destroyed. You're paying more taxes, your job is more tenuous, you're eating poorer quality food. But the good news is, life was not like this before Justin Trudeau, and it won't be like this after he's gone. my common sense plan to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime will mean that you'll have more powerful paychecks, more affordable homes, that you can start a family and build a life here in the best country in the world. Let's bring it home.
Mr. Poilievre, thank you, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.